What's up, guys? It's Dominique, aka That Therapist. For those of you that don't know me, I am the lead clinician and CEO for a group practice known as Yellowbird Counseling. Well, what a Yellowbird Counseling is? Well, our normal day-to-day operations include providing individual, couples, family, and group therapy or counseling in the states of Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Jersey, and Idaho. So if you live in any of those states, any of my staff therapists or Yellowbird ambassadors, as I would like to call them, can service you. So I'll be giving out our information, but on all of my social media platforms, the link is simply in the bio. But if you don't follow us yet, just stay tuned as we continue the broadcast, and we will get you that information. So if you need to get connected to us, you have a friend or family member that needs to get connected to us, you have a coworker, something like that, you know what I'm saying, then we can definitely help them out and get them set up with some therapy to help with their needs. We service people that have insurance, we service people that don't have insurance, and we also offer free, that's right, free sessions, free therapy. That's right, you heard us right. Right now, our free therapy is only offered for our Alabama residents, though. But hopefully, like I said, as we acquire our licensure in more states, we will be able to expand that. But currently, if you are in Alabama, we do have a free option for you. All right, so that's our spiel. But like, what do we be doing here on Thursdays? Well, every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we go live to discuss topics that the general population can relate to and tie it back to how all of us, me included, could use a therapist outside of simply just having a mental illness. Because y'all know what y'all think. Y'all think, oh, only something, if you go to therapy, is something wrong with you. You only go to therapy if you quote unquote sick or quote unquote crazy. I'm here to tell you that if you were truly crazy, I wouldn't be the one you would come see. You would be locked up somewhere safe if you were truly crazy. So if you're seeing me outpatient, the likelihood of you being crazy in its true sense is actually pretty low. You would need much more than outpatient therapy or counseling in order to be classified as crazy. Okay, so now that we've cleared that up, these are my mama glasses, y'all. Man, I almost spit my water out. Sorry, guys. Okay, so that is what we do. All of our business. If you want to know about all our business, including our mental health apparel line that helps you make mental health statements with your chest so that you can join in the conversation to break the stigma around mental health. You simply wear your shirt. People ask you about your shirt, and you can tell them how it ties back to your mental health and how it's your mental health statement and why you're saying it with your chest. All right. So all of our business, again, if you go to any of our social media platforms, you will see the link in our bio. You can click that link tree and you will be able to access all of our services and products. All right, cool. So that's what we do. So with this being January, with this being Mental Awareness Month, I'm trying to kind of cover the things that I think people would benefit from most. Last week, we talked about SAD, seasonal affective disorder, because we are in the height of SAD season and people are, starting to notice that they're having seasonal affective symptoms. So I wanted to remind y'all about what that is in case you had forgot when I shared it in October. You might have woke up one day and realized it was hard to get out of bed, realized it was hard to eat, realized your mood was changing, and forgot that I told y'all that it's SAD season. So I reminded y'all and gave y'all some more tips and told y'all how to connect with us so that we could help you. This week, we're going to be focusing on the fellas. We're going to focus on the fellas this week because any studies show us that men are less likely not only to look after and be proactive with their physical health, but also with their mental health, especially when we get into our marginalized populations or our minority populations. So I thought that that should be something that we cover. So while we are going to be doing that this evening, please share. There's a man on your live who feel like he gotta be so tough and he can't have no help, and men don't need no help, and that's for weak people. And whoa, and all that. Share this out. Share this out. Share this out. Text it to your boyfriend, your daddy, your granddaddy. Copy the link. Your brother, your cousin, brother-in-law, whatever. All right. See if you can share it with at least 3 men. That'd be great. If all of you could help by sharing this directly with at least 3 men. All right. To help get it popping. All right. For us. And wait a minute. No, because the game was last night. No. The game was Monday. All right. One of them games. All right, cool. So it ain't no game night. So bring them in here. Okay? Share it with them. It ain't going to just be me talking because obviously I'm not a man. So, that wouldn't be able to be completely appropriate. While I do service male clients, I'm not a man. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like let's get the information from the best place. So y'all may not remember, but we actually do have a man here in Yellowbird Nation. Y'all may have forgot. We got a man. So let me bring him on without further ado. Hey! How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So glad you could join us.
Happy to be on.
Join us. How about you tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So, my name is Jason Perry. I am a graduate of the University of Montevallo's counseling program. Just like Dominique and some of our other Yellowbird family. And after I finished my time at Montevallo, I was already in the higher ed space. I was already working with students here more in a programming capacity. I coordinate a program here called Minorities Achieving Dreams of Excellence, or the MAID program. And we help minority students with the transition into college. And a big part of why I went into counseling is because through my work, I was able to build relationships with students and really dive into what are the biggest challenges to our students actually being able to graduate. What are our biggest challenges to student success? Um, and a lot of those issues stemmed around mental health. And I started to connect those things back to my own experience. And I was able to identify, wow, a lot of these barriers that I think of for myself relate back to grief, or relate back to anxiety, or relate back to depression. All of these things that you don't really get a lot of knowledge of or guidance in as you're growing up. And so when I was making my decision of like, what do I want to do with my career? How could I be most helpful, make the biggest impact? This was the pathway that I thought we really needed in the communities that I wanted to serve. I felt like this was very centric. So um, I was able to get connected with you, Dominique, through Shekinah, another beloved family member of Yellowbird, and was able to really dive into the work that's already being done in Birmingham. And it was an incredible experience because it made me feel like that people are actually aware of these things and are trying to help the community in that way. And I think a lot of my story resonates with why this is so important. A lot of what's kept me away for a little bit from being able to do what I'm passionate about stems from my own challenges. And, I'm glad we have this platform where we can talk about and be honest about why this is so important and how debilitating it can be when we don't address the challenges um, that weigh on our body from day to day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell us, you kind of going back a little bit to like what you were seeing with students.
Mhm.
What were the things that you were seeing with students that you could relate to that were mental health barriers?
Yeah, so a lot of time we think about college as this, and I think it's a good thing, but we get so excited about going to college, going out on our own, or new adventure, or all that comes with college. And there are a lot of good things. But just because you're going to college does not mean your life is going to be put on pause. It doesn't mean things can't happen personally, financially. Um, Things can't happen in your relationships. If anything, a lot of those things could be amplified because of the change, the major life change that's going on. And so, a lot of things that I would see is students transition into this, and you're trying to uncover your identity. You're trying to really settle into being in a different environment. You're having to get, for some, going into an uncomfortable space, and you're trying to adjust to that. But secondly, I think it's when students have instances of grief. So when a loved one back home passes away, and you have to live with one being away while that happened, and not necessarily getting maybe the closure you would want when you lose a loved one, but also you have to deal with how fast paced college can be, and
Hmm.
how you're expected to continue into this routine that seems never ending, while this processing this heaviness, processing something that you wouldn't know how to process unless you experienced before. But even if you did, you didn't experience it in a college setting where there's a lot of demand on you, and there's a lot of changes going on. So I really believe that a lot of the things that our college students are experiencing isn't too different from what anyone would experience. It's just that added pressure of balancing classes, coursework, and have to be around so many people while you are processing these things, while you rather isolate. And so that resonates with me a lot. I lost two of my grandparents while I was a
I think you're back. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hold on. Hold on. Your mic. Hold on. Okay. You might have go out and come back in. He gonna go out and come back in. Cause I think the sound might be we lost our sound. Okay. Let's see. Hold on, guys. While we're getting our sound back up and going, go on ahead and share. Remember, try to share on to 3 different guys if you can. 3 different men. I don't know. I still can't. I still can't hear you. What? Huh. You're not on mute. Uh-oh. Hold on, guys. Let's see. Thank you, Puggy Brewster. I got you, little bust down. Let's see. He might have had to hold on. Okay. Let me try to hold on. Let me try this. Let me try that. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Now you're back. I can't hear you. Oh man. Now. When the phone be ringing, that's what happens. It happens in my sessions all the time. If a phone ring or your alarm go off or something, it's somewhat for some reason it take your sound just right on out. I don't know why I do that. See if he gonna go completely out and come back. All right, so while that's happening, y'all share. Thank you for that. Now you know what I'm saying. Mariah's still holding up. I had flexi rodded her, so you know what I'm saying. She had got flexi rodded. She was flexi rodded. Um. Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. I'm so sorry about
No,
that.
you're cool.
So, I'm sorry. I think I was talking about just experiencing life, just
And grief. You were
reg-
talking about you lost couple family members back while you were in school.
yes, yes. And I just remember how challenging it was to have to go to class, have to go to work, have to continue with life, especially if you're thinking about a lot of students, a lot of our college students work while they attend school. So it's so much pressure, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of space for you to take the time that you need for yourself, especially when you feel like you're working your way through school, or you feel as though you have already have challenges in the classroom, and to miss time would to would be to get even more behind. And these are the things that challenges our students belonging in these spaces, because when working with minority students, then you have to talk about, well, why does it feel like I'm the only one who is struggling with this, or I'm the only one who's dealing with something like this. And I think a lot of my work is showing that yes, there is a uniqueness in all of our situations, but building that community allows us to really show how a lot of the issues that we are carrying relate, especially when it comes to identity. Being a minority student, being one of the only students that look like you in the classroom, we really wanted to show students that, hey, there's many more of us than what it seems, and all of those feelings, all of the doubt, all of the imposter syndrome. This is something a lot of us either are experiencing or have experienced before.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Tell us, maybe more specifically to the young men,
Mhm.
what might be the barriers, like once they, find themselves in a situation where life doesn't stop because of school and school doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily stop because of life. What kinds of barriers and challenges might you see specifically to the young men?
Yes, so I think one thing that really stands out to me is what you kind of talked about earlier, is for some, we might not even know what aspects of toxic masculinity are. I think sometimes we're conditioned to believe certain things or approach certain things in a certain way. But I think what shows that we need to talk to someone, or we might need to seek some help, is when those emotions begin to flood us, when you find yourself overwhelmed with these emotions. So whether that's anger, whether that's sadness, whether that's anxiety, where you can't really even understand why you feel the way that you do, or and some can identify it, is that I have this test coming up, or I'm going through these issues in my relationship, or whatever it might be. You feel this sense of pressure, and the pressure that you feel is to hide that feeling, is to appear okay, is to appear that it's not there, or you might try to champion it. You might try to romanticize it and say, I have all this going on, but look at how I'm handling it. But you're really suffering in silence. And that's exactly why we created a program here at Montevallo called MORE. It's Men of Resilience and Empowerment. And it was to come into a space and get brutally honest about all of those things. So you think about all of the issues that our black males and Hispanic males might experience. And I think one that stands out to me specifically is depression.
Mhm.
And thinking about some of the things that we don't talk about, like the suicide rate amongst black males, it's like we need to create a space where we can talk about critical issues in the black community, in the Hispanic community, and say, how does this affect us? How does it get to this point for people? Where in the line does this happen? And I think one of the hardest things, Dominique, is when you never experience something, when it hits, you're in crisis. And now you're scrambling to figure out, what do I do? How do I handle this? Do I just wait for it to blow over? And it's hard to advocate for yourself when you're deep inside of the storm. And that is something I have experienced. That is something that has been very hard for me, because when you want to provide, when you want to show up for people, when you want to feel strong and confident, and when people want you to show up in that space in that way, it's very hard to say, I can't, or I'm not myself, or and Dominique can attest that I've had to have those conversations with you, and those were some of the hardest things, because I think what's the root of that is not wanting to disappoint or not wanting to appear weak. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that feeling. But when do we as mental health professionals and leaders and mentors say, okay, but look what that leads to? Do you not see how that is leading to so many other issues, whether it's um, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or whether it's anger and toxicity, or all of these different things that we try to exert this energy out through? When do we see how that can become self-destructive to us? And I would say even more, when it starts to affect us physically, that's when it really gets scary. And so I often think about this. I'm someone who's dealt with um, very bad anxiety, and in having to and getting to the point where I needed medication, I would often reflect back, and I was like, okay, when were the signs there? How long did I deal with this form of anxiety before it became physical symptoms that I couldn't ignore? How long did I let it build up? And so that's something I often reflect on. And I wonder about our audience, how many in our audience may be having these feelings, these nerves, some gastrointestinal issues, or lightheadedness, or dizziness, or certain issues that they can pinpoint now, that they're like, I don't know why I'm experiencing this. Like, where is this coming from? Is it something going on? Do I have some type of illness? To find out that anxiety is just that strong. It's just that strong, where these symptoms can make you feel as though you have a much greater illness, because some of these symptoms are reflecting I think the one that stands out the most is, am I having a heart attack?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that stands out to me the most. It's like, wow, that's a scary feeling that this could be strong enough to mimic something like a heart attack, or to even feel as though that's being induced. And so, um, you never want it to get that far. But I think the root of that is that pressure, and that pressure we put on ourselves, the pressure, societal pressure, gender roles, things like that, that uh, we have to unlearn certain things, and the accept being human sometimes, and that we are emotional creatures, and we have to be able to process emotion. We have to have emotional capacity and maturity to be able to communicate those emotions. And until you get to that space where you can do that, um, you don't really get to experience the relief of being able to understand why you feel the way you feel. That is a huge relief when you can say that and advocate. And if you don't mind, Dominique, one example that I would give is, let's say we're in the work setting, and I've been, my boss has really been piling on to my plate. It's way too much for me to handle. I'm super stressed and anxious throughout the day. I'm throwing up every morning because of the anxiety that I'm caused to go back into work. Um, I'm not sleeping well. Um, I'm snappy with my friends or with my family, and I know I need to say something. Um, and I talked to my boss, and um, uh, I think there's typically two options. A lot of people will end up leaving, or they will take it.
Mm-hmm.
There are very real circumstances that cause people to have to be stuck in those situations. But having a healthy work uh, situation, I go to my boss and I say, you know, I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to disappoint the people that we serve, but this is just a little bit too much for me. And my boss responds with, well, maybe we should take some off of your plate, or maybe it's time for you to get some help. Maybe we need to hire someone to help you. Um, these are actual situations that I've been in and that I've had friends in, where it's like, especially when you're young and you're trying to prove yourself, um, I don't want to admit that I can't do something. But the relief you get when now you have help, now you have communicated your boundaries and your limits, um, it really is freeing. It's liberating to get to that space.
Yeah. So you said a little while ago that you were kind of trying to track how long before the physical symptoms came. Were you experiencing maybe the mental health symptoms, and what did you come up with?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I was trying to differentiate between the anxiety that came on the days I had to give a speech or give a presentation, the anxiety of, you know, talking to someone you hadn't talked to yet that you want to talk to, or anxiety of even playing football and before a game. I was trying to differentiate those instances with just, this is a regular day. Why do I have, and why am I so anxious, or why can't I seem to relax? Some things that really stand out to me was my lack of sleep. There's a period of time I could think of where I was struggling to go to sleep, um, like at all. And I was waking up and I was so tired throughout my day but I could never pinpoint why am I so anxious. So the just the time frames that I was most anxious. So thinking about that now, we talked a little bit about overcompensating. For me, my anxiety after finishing up playing football, um, I felt a lot of that. I felt very, very lost. And I felt like in that transition, I had to, there was so much value I felt from being a football player. You know, you feel seen, you feel celebrated, you feel community, you feel like your identity is rooted in something. Transitioning out of that is very difficult. And so I felt lost and I felt like I had to overcompensate to feel those same feelings that I had then. Well, what that looked like for me was working a ton nonstop, always staying busy, always getting involved with things. And what that led to for me was a great sense of anxiety because one, you don't want to disappoint anyone in all of the commitments that you've made. And then number two, you aren't adequately giving your mind rest, even if your body feels like it can continue to go and go. Um, I never felt like I could turn my mind off. I always felt like I was on alert. And I was doing that while I was going to school. So I think that's when I realized that um, some of those symptoms grew because that feeling of anxiety started to be every day instead of big moments. It
Mm-hmm.
started to be every day because I wasn't allowing myself. Uh, their self care was not a part of my life, and I wasn't really allowing myself to process why I was running myself in that way. So those things didn't go away either. I was telling you about losing my grandparents. Before in high school, I had lost my fraternal grandparents. So I think, you know, grief kind of plays a part in that too. And so those things just kind of build up. Um, you try to distract yourself, you try to keep yourself busy, but it just builds. And um and so all of those things kind of played into that anxiety, which kind of accumulated to when I started having the physical symptoms, which I noticed probably about 3 years ago that it was things just the gastro issues specifically. That's something I was trying to track as well. It's like, okay, when did I start having those issues? And when I really thought about it, I could pinpoint moments where I was having like the issues with my track that I just overlooked. Just it wasn't as important as what I had to do, what was right in front of me, until I didn't have any choice. My swallowing literally shut down, and I was like, and my whole body reacted to the change in my diet because of that, because I was going 3, 4 days at a time without eating. And I mean, it was so debilitating. It literally uh, controlled my life because I was trying to figure out how do I revert back to where I was before this happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you, what were some thoughts that you had once you realized that you didn't have any other choice but to try to get help?
Mm, I think I was just a sense of like regret. I think for me, I feel like I live life kind of on that line where it was like, you know, I'll make time for this or I will get to this. Let me just get through this month. Let me just get through this year. And I was thinking about all of the instances where I could have asked for help or could have taken time off or could have advocated for myself. And I let my body kind of take the beating instead to allow myself to keep going. And I think in any of those instances, if I could talk to myself, I would ask like, what if? Like, what if you did this? What if you took that time? What if you advocated for yourself? What if you did? I think those things are important for me, where I went back and thought it wouldn't have hurt. I have a great support system, and it wouldn't have hurt for me to stop and to give myself what I needed first. Um, but it affected, my sleep, my diet, all of those things, where I saw how it was connected. I saw even just eating on the go, um, never actually sitting down and eating, how that was geared or motivated by that anxiety of not stopping. And it kind of goes back to something you had shared with me about mindfulness, and I realized that, wow, I haven't been in this space where I'm wondering how can I take care of myself. I'm always in the space thinking about what's next on my list. And I think a lot of young people, young professionals, live in that space where they just go, 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 go. Um, and I think it's hard for us to really think about what that does to our body and mind until those warning signs get too big. And
Yeah.
so um just having the conversations, I mean, literally just having the conversations with our young people and our young professionals here on campus, really anybody, is so beneficial, because you it's what's funny to me is you bring this up in a meeting, or you bring this up amongst students, and people can immediately relate to what we're talking about. To some For some people, those physical symptoms, for some people, exhaustion, burnout, they can immediately relate to, if I describe it in depth, can anybody relate to this feeling? Can anybody feel the weight of this exhaustion, this heaviness, this, like they're going nonstop and they can't catch their breath? Do you feel this way? And the amount of people that relate to it, it shows like, hey, why do we just live in this space? We got to figure out a better way. And so that's really what had motivated me to stay connected. Even though I've been in higher ed, I've wanted to stay connected in this field while I kind of journey back to a good space. Um, because I know there's so many people who have the warning signs right now, who don't want to take those steps before you reach that point of no return, which is what it felt like for me in those instances. I was like, man, I've lost control of my body. I've lost control of everything. Um, Now what do I do? And it's hard to ask for help. It's even hard to ask for help when you're in that space.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the healing starts, tell us kind of like physically and mentally what that could look like when you're like, okay, I got to get help. Otherwise, it could
Mhm.
get worse. Like you said, point of no return. So what is it?
Mhm.
What would that healing look like? Or where would you
Yeah.
uh, guide someone, guide a man to start, young man, old man, whatever?
Yeah. I would first say like awareness, really getting awareness and processing, where am I right now, and doing kind of like an assessment of your emotions, of your current state, because I think um we can be creatures of habit and routine, and we we could be like incredibly committed to not breaking that routine or habit. And to do so, would induce extreme anxiety. And that's how I felt. I felt like if anything's off in my routine, that would be the breaking point. Like I always felt like I was barely holding on. And that's the challenge with that is anything, a tire can pop, something, a change, transition at work, changing your relationship, anything can kind of send you over the edge in that way. And you don't want to live in that space. You don't want to live hoping that another bad thing doesn't happen because you don't know how you're going to spiral if it does. So for me, it was really being honest with myself about where am I? Like, can I admit that whether it's financially or whether it's with work, or is there any space in my life where I feel like I'm barely holding on, and that this is where I need to prioritize, or this is where I need to give my attention to. And I think it's the same for our bodies. Is for me, I needed to be intentional about healing some of the damage that was done through those years of abuse in my diet, or coping with food, coping with foods that were destructive, foods and drinks that were destructive to my GI tract, but also uh, changing my habit around eating, like it just eating on the go, like eating while driving, or eating uh, without actually taking a break in between meetings. And I think that's natural for uh, a lot of people who have crazy work schedules, or who are always running. But that was some of the things that I was like, okay, I got to be intentional, because this is exactly what led it to get so bad. Um, but I think also healing um, looks like building a support system, building accountability. So for me, um, having that support, both professional and personal, was crucial. It was absolutely crucial in that time, because you don't feel practical. You don't feel like yourself. When you feel, you know how anxiety just induces this panic, this
Mhm.
chaos. Uh, that's how I felt, and it really made me feel like I need someone to steady me. I need help being steady in this space, or I'm going to react irrationally. I'm going to react impulsively because I don't know what to do, but I feel like I need to do something. Um, and having someone to tell you to breathe, I think that is one of the most powerful things in the world, when someone could just look at you and say, breathe. And it's so
Mhm.
funny to me because we have like 15 students that work in the office. They are typically the ones who remind me to breathe throughout the day, because they can see it when I get going and I get running and I'm in my head. They can see it. And I imagine that the people in our lives, for anyone who's watching or who will watch, I bet you a lot of people can see it when we're not breathing, when we our mind is racing, when we haven't slowed down in a long time. I think people can see it. And the best thing we could do, I would say, for anybody that has a man in their life, a son, a husband, a father, a brother, I would challenge you to say that to them and see the response it induces. If you just say, just breathe, just breathe, just take a moment. It's it's all we can't change everything in a day. We can't change everything in a moment. Um, and that the journey itself is enough for you to be happy, to be appreciative, to be in the moment. And I think that's hard when we're often competing with ourselves, competing with others, and we feel like we're behind. I think feeling like we're behind is one of the most motivating factors for pushing ourselves in this way. So I think there's a lot of things you unlearn, a lot of cognitive distortions that lead to pushing us in this space of anxiety and chaos. Um, and then I would say finally, for me, healing in those ways and um, changing certain habits and all of that, the ultimate sign was in the physical. Not only feeling better but looking better, um, sleeping better, my appetite getting better, finding a balance. All of those things that became hope because you have to give yourself grace and time to heal. But until you see some of those changes, you can kind of feel like it's any of this working. Is any of this working? Am I doing this all for nothing, or is this just what it is now? It's the damage too much, and so um, when I started to to look like myself and feel like myself again, that's when I knew I was on the right track.
Yeah, yeah. What might you say to a guy who's like, because a lot of that, maybe he doesn't have a family member, maybe he's, everything falls on his back and he does
Mm.
have to see a therapist. Like, what would you say?
Absolutely. I think that's the space for a lot of people, especially thinking about coming to college and you're on your own. You're often away from family. You feel isolated. You feel siloed. Um, I would say number one, seeking out a therapist who can help guide. Just it's okay to not know what the next step is, or it's okay to not know where you are, to be stuck in the gray area right now. um don't try to shoulder all of that. I think that's the beautiful thing about therapy is that it is and can be very clinical, but it also can be very personal, and personable, and that part of it is what makes you feel like you have a team. That part of it is what makes you feel like, okay, the things that sit on me and that I worry about day in, day out, I can share this with this person and they can help guide me. They can not necessarily give me advice, of course, but they can really examine and analyze my life as well and see what are places I'm not looking to find some of the support that I want or might need. And so I would say start by seeking out a therapist and really taking that step, even if it's just that first session, take that, at least taking that step will provide that hope to you that I'm actually doing something for myself. And it feels good. We do this in so many other spaces. But that's a part for me, that's a part of the self-care that says this is not necessarily easy to do, and I don't necessarily see all of the benefits of it or the what will come of it in one day, one session. But the step alone feels like, man, I'm finally doing something for myself.
Yep.
And so I think that's a part of it that it's one of those things is when you do it, that's when you feel that benefit or you feel better after you do it. So often like going to the gym where it's like, man, I don't want to go in here. And then it's like you get into it and you start vibing and like you walk out and you feel great.
Yep.
And so that's what I would attribute it to. And it is a good feeling to be able to share these things, even if it's I don't know what to do. Sometimes that could just feel great to be able to say like that's how I've been feeling. I haven't been even been able to communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say, while men are a very small, a significantly smaller population of the folks that we serve, is just because, again, men are, Jason told y'all, men try to, brute strength it through a lot of time. I will say that men that I have, once they started therapy, they have been some of the longest standing, most consistent clients that I've had. So, and that we've had as a practice. So, um, definitely, I can say that men, once they start, definitely are experiencing the benefits and, staying the course and getting what they need, as long as they are getting the right type of support. So, um, definitely just start that first session and, I can strongly guarantee you'll start seeing changes if you're invested um, in just a transformation or in wellness or in getting well. After you've gotten sick because things have gone so far. So uh, yeah, definitely. And if you're not, a man, you're a woman and you have a man in your life, like Jason was saying, like definitely this is, they could be struggling. They may need to see this. You may not know. So definitely please feel free to share this out with them. The men in your life, the men that you lay eyes on, or the men that you may be in contact with, because again, a lot of times they just don't even, it may not even occur to them to ask for help, just because it's not necessarily how society has been set up to um, health, or going to get help hasn't necessarily been very appealing to men historically. So definitely do your part to help a man that could, his life could go from bad to worse or a point of no return, just because they're not caring for themselves properly. And a lot of it does start mentally. So awesome. Well, shoot, Jason, thank you so much. This has been really informative. I think providing a lot of guys that might see this with hope, like, okay, somebody else has felt like this. I don't, I'm not weird. It's okay to ask for help. And hopefully they will be encouraged to take that next step. What last words might you give these guys that might be kind of on the fence about getting help?
Yeah. I would just say commit to the process, commit to the journey of it. It is a mental health journey, just like any other journey. And sometimes you have to try different things. Sometimes you have to seek advice. Sometimes you have to have a little trust, a little faith, a little hope in it. But it is a worthy journey, and um, I think like anything for me, I do this with everything. I'm taking the GRE, or when I was taking the NCE or the praxis, I always find someone, and I was like, I gotta study, I gotta go through this journey too. Is this something you want to do together? Even the a weight loss journey, or a gym partner. These are things that um, make a huge difference. So I just think about the accountability and not feeling alone in that, and I definitely understand that that's not always possible for everybody. But I would just say, like anything, show up for yourself, and you have the energy, the capacity, the capability to do for yourself what you do for others. And when you start doing that, it's going to only enrich every part of your life. So thank you, Dominique, for providing a platform where we can have these discussions, but also just being in the work every day. Because when you get in any of these journeys, it's the everyday thing, and you need people who are committed to it in that way. So thank you. I appreciate being able to come on, have this discussion, and I hope it's something we could continue to do in different ways. And I hope we can continue inspiring conversations, whether individually as groups on live. I think we're moving in the right space as a community about addressing these things that have been harmful to our community for a long time. And I want to see healing. We want to see healing at Yellowbird come to your communities.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much.
Of
And we'll
course.
talk soon. Um,
Absolutely.
but I enjoyed having you, and come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, you have a good one.
Okay, you too.
Thanks.
Mhm.
All right, y'all. I got your men. Your mans need help. Okay. So how you gonna help them? Have you shared? Have you shared this with your dad? Have you shared this with your brother, your husband, your boyfriend, your best friend? You know, that could be a man or a young man or a boy even. You know, if you could share this, because they need to hear it. I could have said all of that, but it definitely wouldn't have been as impactful um, as it was coming from Jason, a man who has not only worked in the mental health field, but also who has taken his own mental health journey and has experienced what another, like a man could cut me down and say, you don't know, you're not a man. Well, Jason is like a man, like a manly man. You know what I'm saying? He played football. You know what I'm saying? You saw him, he roll up, like football. So yeah. Um, if they see masculinity getting help, it could open their eyes. You know what I'm saying? So if you could please share this, please, please, please. And you can even copy and paste our link tree. If you're in our community, just scroll up to January 1st, and our link tree link is there. You can copy and paste it and share that with with the guys in your life, or if you're around them, there's a QR code right up under it, and you can pull it up on your phone and let them scan it so they can take a look at the services that we have. Or you can let them text the word new down here, or you could text the word. I've had people text the word new on their behalf, and give us the information to reach out to this person if they just can't drudge it up within themselves to call or text us on their own. We definitely can help facilitate that for you, as long as they're willing. If they're willing, if they said, well, if somebody call me, we got you. If somebody call me, I'll make sure somebody call them. Okay. I'll make sure, because I understand for men, it is a struggle. Okay. That's why Men's Health Month even exists, because men's health is on the decline, and they perish a lot earlier than women, typically, because they let things go and drags their body down. Their mental health impacts their body, and their body begins to operate in survival mode, which ultimately leads to perishing earlier. So definitely share this. It's very important. I have a heart for our guys too. So share this out. And we're just going to continue this. All right. So next week we'll have another topic that's going to be largely beneficial to the general population, to bring awareness to mental health, as January is Mental Health Month, our Mental Awareness Month, rather. There's like so many different mental awareness months. So we're bringing awareness all month. And thank y'all for your support. Thank you for your shares. Thank you for that man that you helped by just giving him our information. And we will see you all next week. Bye.